Morning everybody, welcome to today's press conference ahead of tomorrow's trip to Brentford. We'll start with Keith Downey at Sky Sports. Good morning, Keith.
Morning Lee, hi Eddie, how you doing?
I'm good, Keith, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Can I start please with your injury situation? How are you looking ahead of this one?
Yeah, not too much has changed. Obviously with some of the lads that are out, Callum Wilson, Matt Ritchie, Maxi we're going to make a late call on. He's been away getting intensive treatment. We said when he suffered the injury that it wouldn't be long term, so we're keeping our fingers crossed on him. And then you've got Ryan Fraser will be okay. Came off the pitch against West Ham, but looks like he'll be fine. And they've had a bit of illness in the camp this week, but nothing too serious.
So of those that are ill, none of them that should miss.
At this moment in time, Keith, no.
Okay. In terms of Alan's rehab, what does that entail, and what is the actual nature of the injury?
He got a bang on the calf against Aston Villa. In terms of his rehab, he's been away to get intensive specialised treatment abroad. We felt that was the quickest way to get him fit. So he's in a very good place mentally, and he's very eager to return.
And how is Javier Manquillo?
Yeah, Mankey came through a couple of training sessions this week. I wouldn't say he's 100% fit, but he's certainly getting closer to being fit and available.
Have you got a player in your squad in Bruno who is desperate to make his first start? Is he knocking on your door yet, trying to get in?
I think you've always got the players aren't in the team are always, I wouldn't say physically knocking on the door, but mentally they are. And I think Bruno's in that place where, of course he's keen to play and show what he can do and help the team. But he's trained very, very well. And mentally, I think he's in a good place. I think he understands the team has been performing well. The chemistry in the midfield has been very good. And I think he's an intelligent player. So I think he understands his position. And he also knows on the horizon we've got a lot of games to come. The fixture congestion will be packed as the season unfolds. So he will have a lot of opportunities to cement his place in the team.
You were obviously missing three big players last week for the trip to West Ham. It looked from the outside looking in, you had others who just stepped up to the plate and looked like filled in seamlessly. How much has that pleased you, the way they have done that, and I suppose the way you'll be hoping to keep doing it moving forward?
I think it's absolutely vital that you every player that steps into the team, even if they haven't played for a period of time, knows their job, knows their role, knows what's expected of them, and is physically ready to perform. And I think the pleasing thing from last week, as you said, with a few players that did that, I think that's testament to their attitude and professionalism. I've said all along the group here is very, very good in that respect, always prepared to help the team ahead of their own wants and needs, especially with the position that we're currently in. So long may that continue.
What sort of work, Eddie, have you had to do on sort of individual players in a sort of one-to-one situation? Because it looked perhaps before you came along, and maybe even in your early days, that a few of the heads were down a little bit. But there certainly seems to be confidence now coursing through many of those players who looked as though they were struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose that's an interesting observation from your side. I never felt that. I never felt players' heads were down. I did feel confidence had taken a little hit. I think there's a big difference. I never felt there was any player that was in a position where they were feeling sorry for themselves or in a negative headspace. More that we needed to try and help them by working with them individually or working with them more intensely on certain parts of their game, just to try and get that lift and that confidence which every player needs to give their best. And I think we've seen with a couple of positive results that, as you say, the team definitely has been lifted, and you see now maybe more freedom within our play. But as I've said many times, that's a dangerous period. So you need to keep that confidence, and that has to come from our preparation and how we enter games, because you can't take it for granted.
How pleased have you been with the immediate influence of Dan Burn in your team? He looks like he's played there for years, and he already looks like he's a firm favourite with the fans, being a local lad.
Yeah, that's great to see. I mean, I think Dan has fitted in really well, as has Matt Targett on that left-hand side of our defence. You've got two new players there, but both have taken to what we've asked them to do excellently. They've defended very well first and foremost, which is obviously their job, but they really have helped our team. I think Dan especially has used the ball really well. He's been very composed, talks well, he's got leadership qualities, so I'm really pleased with both those players on the left hand side of the fence.
And just a quick glance at the bottom of the table following Burnley's win the other night shows just how tight it is. I suppose that is evidenced by the fact that you're 6 unbeaten and you're still only sort of 2 points clear. So it's everyone appears to be fighting for their lives down there. How hard is that making for you?
That's always going to be the case. I mean, there was no surprise in Burnley's results for me. They're a team that will never give up, and no team down the bottom will give up. It's going to go right to the end of the season, in the sense the relegation battle and the fight to stay in the league, I think, will go to the wire. From our side, we have to take care of our own business, and that is consistently winning games or consistently getting points, and trying to push ourselves and elevate ourselves away from danger. But if we think it's going to be given to us by the other teams, that's absolutely not going to happen. This is the hardest league in the world for a reason, and we're going to have to fight for every point, and our destiny is still in our own hands, and that's where we want it, and that's where we have to do our business first.
Thanks, Eddie. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Andy Sixsmith, PLP.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning, Andy.
How far up the table do you think the relegation battle stretches?
I'm going to give you a quite disappointing response to that question, Andy, because I've not really looked, and it's irrelevant for me at this stage of the season. It's irrelevant. Maybe later on, as you get down to the final few games, it might have more reason to look. But I think at the moment it's about us performing well and getting points in the games that we have in front of us. I think looking at league tables and predicting results and all that stuff that I understand pundits and supporters will do, but when you're in my shoes, it's irrelevant.
Dean Smith says that he doesn't watch the other relegation rivals' games at all. He actually watched Afterlife on Netflix the night instead. Do you watch the other games? And if not, what else do you watch in place of it?
It depends on the game, really. I think if we have a future opponent coming up, even if it's 4 or 5 weeks down the line, yes, I'll watch the game. If we've played both teams, then I don't know. Maybe it depends. Every night is different. I've got to say my alternative viewing is very, very limited at the minute. I think it's football, or I'm going to say nothing. I do think it's nothing. Yeah. So I'm pretty much all into football at the moment, but hopefully something will crop up that I can take my mind off the game for a while.
Training videos all the way. Just on the recent form, what's been the biggest difference? The transfer window or the progression of the players that you've already had, both individually and collectively?
Very good question. I think probably an element of both. I think the transfer window has definitely helped us. It's enabled us to add some, and I know I keep saying this, but some very good people to the group, which was fundamentally the most important thing. And then, of course, they need to be able to play the game in the right way and in the way that suits our team. But I think we've had that. But I do think our players that we've had have progressed through the weeks, and slowly but surely we've improved. And I think put the mix together, it's been quite a powerful one for us. But we know where that progress can stop. And we have to be absolutely focused on trying to keep our momentum and keep our positivity and not let up for a second.
We've talked a lot about the midfield recently, haven't we? But how have you made them, and forgive me for using this expression, but how have you made them a nastier bunch to play against?
Well, I think it relates to our training. So for me, one of the biggest things we asked for from day one was intensity to our work. Now that encompasses many things, but in every drill we've tried to deliver for the players, it has an element of obviously what we want the players to do on match day. The two things have to relate, and I think the players have done really well to then take those the drills and the repetition of them into the game. And I think I agree with you, because I think we've become much harder to play against as the weeks have gone by. Epitomised really by our midfield, who out of possession have worked incredibly hard in all phases, whether it's with the ball, without the ball, or in transition. And again, the key thing is to maintain that and enhance that, because that's where a lot of the games are won and lost.
And just finally from me on Brentford, how much did you learn about them back in, November from your hotel room? And how much have they changed since then, do you think?
Yeah, I've said many times, I think that was one of the worst 90 minutes or 95 minutes of my football life, because powerless to control a game that was so important. I don't think they've changed too much. They've obviously had a couple of players missing. I think Raya was a big miss for them earlier in the season, and now Ivan Toney's been out for a few games. They're big players. But I think Thomas Frank has done a brilliant job at Brentford last season, getting promoted, and then the manner that they've played this season, I think they've been very good, and we don't underestimate them, especially at home. I think we've got to be prepared for a tough encounter, but we need to maintain our standards from our recent games.
Thanks, Andy. Alistair McGowan, BBC Sport.
Eddie,
Morning.
I just wondered if you could clarify with the situation with Alan Saint-Maximin, why he's had to go to France to seek a specialist there. No mystery around that. We just wanted him to get the best treatment, most intense treatment that he could. And Alan has a relationship with a physio in a clinic out in Monaco, so we felt it was good for him to go back and get that. Okay, fine. And just you talk about sort of relegation battle there and not getting too wrapped up in looking at other results, but how important do you think it is the likes of yourself and maybe Sean Dyche as well to have that experience of a relegation battle, maybe compared to other managers down there who might not have that experience?
Yeah, if it helps us, then great. But I'm a firm believer. When I took my first job in football, I was obviously in a relegation battle. I had no huge relegation battle. I had no experience of management, yet alone what was to come. And we managed to achieve our objective. So yes, I think it is important, but it's not the be all and end all. So sort of a mixed answer to that one.
Also, you mentioned earlier on about congestion. I think with the way the games have been rearranged now, I think you've got 4 games in 10 days. Obviously it's been a bit of an exceptional season. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that sort of congestion together and whether that was fair.
It's not ideal. No doubt about that. I've got to choose my words carefully. Surprised when we saw the fixture congestion that we had, especially with the amount of away games in a very short period of time. What can we do about it? Nothing. So we have to play the games, and we will play the games in the best way possible.
Actually, just on that front, in terms of fixture congestion, I just last of all, remember I think I'm right in saying that the club wrote to the Premier League about refereeing decisions early in the season. Was there any outcome from that, by the way?
Yes, we got a letter back, and it was an enjoyable read, and that's it.
Thank you, Alistair. Nisha Joshi, BBC Up North. Morning, Nisha.
Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning.
We've talked about that Brentford game, that your first game in charge, albeit remotely, and now you're coming up to playing them again. How do you reflect on what has been a transformation of the team under you?
It's been, when you look at it over the extended period of time that it has been, I think you see, you probably see the change from the start point to where we are currently. I think when you're in it and living it every day, you're obviously aware that we've had some positive results and things look better, but it's much easier when you're looking back. And I think the first game that we had was a difficult game. I thought they played well. I thought we played very well as well in different phases. But I think you saw our strengths and maybe our vulnerabilities in that game as well. So hopefully we're on our way to becoming better in some of those vulnerabilities. And hopefully we can give a really good account of ourselves tomorrow and cement our recent good work.
And just one more from me. There's been a lot of talk this week that potentially Christian Eriksen may play some part for Brentford. As a manager, you don't want to come up against, great players, but if he were to play a part in that, there must be part of you that will have a smile on your face to see him.
Yeah, I always think as I said before, I was watching the game where he collapsed, and my thoughts and prayers were with him and his family, hoping that he made a healthy recovery from that really tough situation, and thank God he has. And it'd be great to see him back on a football pitch. From our side, during the game, we can have no emotion towards that. We'll have to concentrate on our jobs, but certainly it's great to see him fit and healthy and enjoying his football again.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Simon O'Rourke, ITV Times.
Morning, Eddie. I've just got one. I appreciate that you said that you don't really pay too much attention to the league table at this point, but there is quite a strong dog-eat-dog element to this game, in that were you to get a positive result of victory, you could go ahead of Brentford and really drag them into it. Does that make it more important?
I think whenever you're playing teams that are close to you in the league table, that they're important games. But the motivation that we have is there for us in every game, regardless of who our opponent is. We've had 3 consecutive wins, transformed our league position. They were huge games, and that now every game between now and the end of the season will take on more importance. So I think the motivation levels are there in every game. I don't think you need to look for extra reasons.
Thanks, Simon. If you have a question for Eddie, can you use the raised hand function, please? Damien Spellman, PA.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Eddie, Joelinton's been getting rave reviews for his performances in the last few weeks. After a difficult couple of years, first couple of years at Newcastle, how has that affected him as a person? Is he a happier person around the place? 'Cause he's never shown it on the pitch that things were getting to him, but he must be, on cloud 9 at the moment.
Okay, a difficult one for me to answer, because I didn't know. I've only known Joe for a really short period of time. I've even from day one, I met a guy that was very level-headed, really fun, happy, great personality, really, really popular amongst his teammates. So I've not been through that experience with him by his side, so it's difficult to see how he's changed in terms of his conduct. But I can't speak highly enough of him as a player and a person since I've been here.
Jordan Cronin, Newcastle World.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
I just wanted to ask about Miguel Almirón. He came off the bench last weekend at West Ham, but I think he's only started 3 games under you since you arrived as head coach. Just how do you view Miggy as a player, and does he still have a big role to play between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, he has a massive role to play. I'm a big fan of Miggy. I think it's, he has outstanding athletic qualities and pressing qualities, which, of course, we've based our game around, really. A big counter-attack threat, and he's got a lovely left foot. So, great lad, worked incredibly hard, training well, waiting for his opportunity. We have competition for places, which is what we craved from day one. People pushing each other to good performances, and I think it's a credit to the form of Alan, Ryan, and to Jacob in whichever position he has played, that Miggy hasn't had that game time that he wants, but he's certainly got a big part to play. And as I said earlier, with the fixture congestion that we've got, everyone on the squad's going to need to be ready, and then when they get their chance, they need to take it.
Ian Murter.
Good morning, Eddie.
Morning.
When you came to Newcastle, your sole task was to keep Newcastle in the Premier League. If you were given somebody in place now, would you take it, or are you getting greedy? Are you looking at the teams above you and thinking how high you can finish, bearing in mind you've unbeaten in 6 games now and in decent form?
Well, I am greedy because my expectations of myself and my team are very high, and that would always be my message to the players. We go into every game to try and win it. We're very positive in our approach, and for me, that's how the game should be played. In terms of the objective is to stay in the league, and that will remain the case. I'm not going to put a label on what number, but our objective is very clear, and we're working towards that.
Miles Starford.
Morning. Obviously, I know your primary focus is on the team here, but what have you made of Elliot Anderson's impact at Bristol Rovers?
Yeah, I've been really pleased with Elliot. I think he needed to go out and play and get that feeling of regular football. I think we were slightly disappointed that it was in League Two, because I feel Elliot is ready for in my opinion, for the Championship. I think he's a very, very talented lad, and I think it's no surprise that he's gone to Bristol and done so well, and very thankful for their care and the opportunity that they've given him. Because regardless of level, I think you need to feel that confidence that will be going through him at the moment. I think he's made a big impact there, and knowing Kevin Bond as I do so well, I'm really pleased that he's had such a positive impact on their season.
Lee Ryder?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just a couple really. Firstly, Brentford, obviously newly promoted, but they've hit a bit of a lull, which I'm sure you understand, given your experiences at Bournemouth, the change of going into the Premier League. And just secondly, just a quick one on Dwight Gayle. Has he still got a role at the club? He hasn't been used much recently.
Yeah, Brentford, I think in every season in the Premier League we have difficult moments, and I think I think you expect those challenges to come. No season is ever a smooth ride, and I think you're always going to have your moments where you need to dig deep. We've obviously felt that ourselves, and I think the only people I can talk about is my team. And when you're in a good moment, you want it to last as long as you can, and when you're in a difficult moment, you're very, very keen to come out of it as quickly as you can as well. So we have to just focus on ourselves this week. Regarding Dwight's another player who's shown a great attitude behind the scenes to his work. He has a big role to play in the team. He's a very experienced player. I think he's a very good vocal presence in the dressing room. He's really helped the players, supported them that have been in the team when he's not. And you know that if Dwight gets one chance, it could be the key moment in our season to keep us in the league. He could be that player that delivers in the crucial moments. So he needs to be ready for his chance.
Luke Edwards.
Hi Eddie. A couple of curveballs, if you don't mind. The Newcastle United Supporters Trust this week has talked about safe standing and looking to get that back at St James's Park. Is that something you would welcome? And finally, just a bit of a personal one, are you still in a hotel at the moment, or have you managed to find somewhere to live?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're curveballs. I think they're good questions. I think the safe standing, look, if it was safe, sounds a bit of a cliche, but if it is safe and it is wanted and desired by the supporters, I'm sure the club will look at trying to make that reality and try and help them. I'm all for it. If it's going back in the day when I first watched football in the stands, I love standing and watching the game, and I think it helped me feel a bit more involved in the game. Yes, I am out of the hotel, and I am into a flat which will be temporary for me until my family arrive in the summer.
Chris Wolf.
Morning, Eddie. Sorry, I've got a bit of a left field one as well, which my desk just asked me to ask. But it's about concussion substitutes. And now, obviously, there was this situation with Fabian Schär the other week when he went down injured. Just wanted your opinion on the current rules in concussion in football. And would you like to see temporary concussion substitutes introduced, which have been talked about as a potential avenue?
Well, I think the first thing to say on this is it's all about the safety of the player. Now, when I played, going back a few years, I know, but I was knocked out many times. My size seemed to attract centre forwards' elbows, and yeah, honestly, I can remember getting knocked out 5 or 6 times, and I'd get back up and I'd carry on. Now, I didn't think anything of it in those days, but it was wrong. And looking back now, if we had the measures that are in place, I think I'd have had better care. So I think it's a big step forward for football. I think it needs to be done. You know, there's so much we don't know about the brain injuries suffered by footballers that I think as a duty of care we have to look after them as best we can. In terms of the substitutes, yeah, I would welcome that. Obviously, as long as the medical teams on all sides followed the protocols, which I'm sure they would, because it's as I said, it's all about the safety of the players.
Martin Hardy.
Good morning, Eddie.
Morning.
One of the big visible changes in your team has been your midfield, the power inside there, and the fact that 3 players work so well together. Is there a place in there for Bruno Guimarães, and have you had to have a talk with him to reassure him that there is, if there is?
well, of course, there's a place for him in there, and one of the reasons why the midfield trio have performed so well is because Bruno's been there waiting for his opportunity. So, and that is one of the key things to a successful team. You don't just have 11 players, you need a squad of players fighting for places, which elevates the levels of the ones that are actually playing. I haven't wanted to change the team too much because it's the first time in this season where we've had a really good rhythm. But Bruno will get his opportunity, as I said, with the games we have coming up. Then it's up to him to make sure he performs well enough to stay in the team. So yeah, I've spoke with them. I've spoke with every player about varying different things. For me, about developing their games mainly, not about the decision to start them or not.
Kieran Kelly?
Hi Eddie, Callum Wilson's spoken very honestly this week just how difficult it's been mentally for him to be out. We've seen obviously Kieran Trippier potentially travelling with the team. You had your own injury issues as a player. I mean, how conscious have you been to almost manage them? There was maybe a time 20, 30 years ago where injured players weren't at the forefront of managers' minds, but I suppose your own experience helps with keeping them engaged.
Yeah, I think the first thing on this is it's very important that the club show the care to the player firstly. So whether that's getting them the best treatment, specialist opinions, rehabilitation, it's all about giving them the level of care, which is why you've seen a couple of players that we've had travel abroad. Very difficult here for our medical team to give them the specialist treatment that they need. So we're very open in helping the players get back on the pitch as soon as possible, and sometimes that means sending them away. From my side, it's about supporting that process and then supporting the player emotionally with a telephone call or continued messaging, just to let them know that we're thinking about them, we're caring for them, and we want them back.
And final question, Oscar Paul.
Eddie, you mentioned the strengths and vulnerabilities being on display in that first match against Brentford. Looking back, what were those vulnerabilities, and did you expect to be able to turn them around so quickly?
Well, I think when you look back at that game, I think we obviously, I think we had over 20 shots in the game, remembering it right, and I thought we did look at a continued goal threat, but of course we conceded 3 goals, which, and you're at home and you score 3, you expect to win the game. So I think one of our biggest challenges was tightening the team up defensively, and I have to highlight the word team. It's never about an individual unit within the team. I think we've become harder to play against out of possession. But as I say many times, there's no magic wand to that. It doesn't mean that it's fixed forever. It's a continued process that you have to work towards. And you have to keep doing the basics right to try and become harder to play against, harder to score against. We've done very well in that respect in recent games, but we've got a lot of work ahead to make sure that becomes a clear part of our identity.